With Miltia accessible, the Federation, U-TIC, and the Immigrant Fleet fight each other for control of the Zohar hidden on the planet. Shion and Allen attempt to reach Miltia but are nearly destroyed by U-TIC forces and saved only by KOS-MOS' spontaneous activation and intervention. With help from Gaignun and the Second Miltian government, the group then launches an assault with the Elsa, destroying the Immigrant Fleet mothership before being rescued by Gaignun as the space-time distortion around Miltia vanishes. Joined by Jin and Canaan, they unlock the data within Canaan's mind, revealing that the Immigrant Fleet funded U-TIC since its inception and that MOMO's father sacrificed himself to seal Miltia away. After a skirmish with Margulis, the group finds the Zohar and 2 mangled comatose Realians used in the system that controls its energy. These are Cecily and Cathe. Shion reluctantly allows KOS-MOS to kill them in order to shut down the system. The Zohar is claimed by Sergius on behalf of Ormus and the Immigrant Fleet. He installs the Zohar into the Proto Omega, a giant machine built within the structure of Miltia itself, with the intent of destroying the Gnosis and Federation so Ormus can be free to rediscover lost Jerusalem. Shion's group escapes on the Elsa as the Proto Omega activates, destroying both Miltia and the surrounding armies of the Federation and Ormus. As the group launches an assault on the Proto Omega, Gaignun, who had previously killed Yuriev after refusing to kill Junior as ordered, is possessed by the spirit of Yuriev, who takes over the Federation government and launches his own attack on the Proto Omega. When the group faces Sergius, they're aided by Albedo, but Albedo is seemingly killed by Sergius. After their battle, Sergius is killed by a group of cloaked men dubbed the Testaments due to exceeding his role in their plans. The Testaments then resurrect Albedo and give him control of the Zohar, which immediately unleashes Udu's energy. Junior is forced to kill Albedo, dispersing the Udu energy, but is comforted by Nephilim and Chaos. Before the Zohar can be retrieved, a massive ship, dubbed Abel's Ark, appears and absorbs the Zohar. Wilhelm, who has been observing events, speaks telepathically with Chaos while calling him Yeshua, praising his decision to become an active player in events. In a post-credits scene, Wilhelm confers with the Testaments about recent events while welcoming a new white-cloaked member. All right, so we left off with the space-time anomaly that opens up the way to Miltia.
Yeah.
Albedo's gone through. U-TIC has gone through. The Federation is struggling with them. It's all gone crazy. Meanwhile, we cut back to a ship where Shion is stationed.
Yep.
And she's talking with Miyuki over some kind of communication.
Right.
And
Skype.
She's kind of
Skyping.
Yeah, like the UMN Skype.
UMN Skype.
And she's being pretty short with her. Like, she's not very patient. She's like, why are you caring about these little things? We got much bigger problems on our hands. She's kind of
exactly
snappy with her.
Yeah.
But then she sees some visions.
Yeah, all of a sudden I think Nephilim shows up behind her as well.
Yep. Nephilim and also Febronia as well. So it's 2 different times. So she kind of briefly sees Nephilim first, and she's remembered, like, you're supposed to go save these Realian girls, remember?
Well, she hasn't. This is the first time she's had a vision in the game. Is that right?
I think
Shion?
so. I think so.
Since episode 1?
Right. So it's, you know, they've been distracted for a bit.
Yeah.
Things have been going on. It's like, remember, you're supposed to be helping these girls, right?
Right.
And so yeah, then she goes to like to transfer some data or something, and then she kind of sees a vision of Febronia in the room where the Zohar is being kept on Miltia itself, and she's just imploring her to help her sisters Cecily and Cathe, please come, please, there's no more time to lose, you have to go now.
And something along the lines of help them but free them was kind of what was being said.
Yes.
Set them free or free them from whatever's going on.
The suffering.
The suffering.
Yeah. So she decides she can't ignore this. She's got to go right now. But, like, how am I going to do that? I don't have a ship.
Yeah.
So she's going to go take that ship that we saw, or that mech, I should say, we saw earlier when she was speaking with Allen in the flashback.
Right.
They were kind of like in a hangar, like looking down on it. So she's going to go like steal that, and she recruits Allen to come help her do this.
And he's surprisingly helpful though, right?
Yeah, I mean he complains a little bit, but not nearly as much as he should have.
No, exactly. And she kind of pays him like a brief little compliment too. Yeah. Like, oh, you can do it, I believe in you kind of thing. And he's just like, I think that's what gets him to do what she wants a little bit.
Yeah, there's apparently something special about this mech. So Kevin built it, but it allows for hyperspace travel without using the UMN. So that was why they wanted to get it, because it was like they wouldn't have to alert anybody by, actually interfacing and using the UMN to travel.
Yeah.
They could just jump exactly where they wanted to go, make it a little bit more secret. So that's why she wants it. So they kind of sneak down there and get into it. I already talked about this last week about how rude she was to Allen. Like, just be a man already, right?
That's right, yeah.
I don't think we need to go over that again, but we cut to Wilhelm, like, as they're escaping on this thing, and he's, like, watching them fly by, and he's speaking with that red hooded guy who's always kind of with him in there.
Yeah.
She is suited for the task. There will be no problems. People always try to live a life of choices between good and evil. We were talking about this a little bit before we got here.
Yeah.
How do we feel like the concept of Nietzsche's behind good and evil was like worked into this plot?
Yeah.
Let's see what he says here.
Okay.
They make pessimism their foundation and praise misfortune and sorrow, and then they try to seek a pure heart. Yet this is nothing more than their individual view born out of comparison with others. Is she, who thinks of others, right? Is he who opened the door wrong?
Right.
So is
he's just redefining.
Yeah, is Shion good because she apparently thinks of others, or has a normal moral compass?
Right.
And is Albedo evil for doing what he did, is kind of what he's asking, I think, there.
Wow, such an open mind.
Only those who stand in a place beyond that point can comprehend the true essence and gain knowledge of absolute truth. Her awakening, KOS-MOS awakening, will lead us to that summit. Don't you agree? In any case, the intermission is over and the players stand upon the stage. All that remains is to wait for the knight to appear. And for that, it is necessary that someone play the role of the villain. So
very interesting.
I'm not sure that there's like really, like, you kind of poked fun at it for good reason there.
Yeah.
Like much to draw on that in terms of like an interesting conversation to have about good and evil.
It is, yeah.
I think what is important to pull from this is Wilhelm is quite clearly like the actual villain of this story.
Yeah, there was some question about that in episode 1, right?
Yeah.
Because we got to see him a lot more in episode 1 than so far here in episode 2. Well, even through the end. He only shows in a couple scenes. But as he appears in those scenes, he is shown more or less as something of a mastermind of what's going on here.
The orchestrator.
Right? Yep. He either makes things happen or he allows things to happen. But he is not in total control, but he's more in control than, for instance, the Patriarch, right? Patriarch thinks he's in control, and we see a little bit later, not so much. Whereas Wilhelm, he rarely has those moments where he's like, oh no, I don't know what's going on. It's like, no, everything's going according to whatever he's planned out so far. Yeah.
So he and these robed figures, this red robed, black robed, and blue robed figure. Well, we know the blue is Virgil from game 1.
We saw him in game 1.
We know the black is Voyager from Pied Piper.
From Pied Piper, yeah.
Still don't know the identity of the red yet.
Right.
But these people involved with this, with Wilhelm, are the ones who are truly in control, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's like Ormus wants to go back to Lost Jerusalem, but Ormus is just a player on the freaking chessboard for Wilhelm.
Yep.
As is
it turns
the
out.
Federation, as is everyone else. It seems the only one in this story who has any real, like, legitimate claim as like someone who could oppose them is Dmitry Yuriev, interestingly enough. Like when he kind of comes back into the picture, it's like he's the only one who seems to have any real confidence that he can stand in Wilhelm's way. But we don't really, a lot of this is going to obviously be saved for Game 3, but it's coming into clearer picture at this point, despite all these different organizations and whatnot. They've kind of like clarified the vision here. It's Wilhelm. Wilhelm's the dude we got to stop.
It's Wilhelm. Yuriev is interesting, I guess. Margulis is, and a lot of these, there's a lot of bad guys, once again. Just like with the other Xeno games, the bad guys aren't all in alignment, but we slowly see them moving towards alignment by the end of this game here. That you're right. Wilhelm is kind of the one. He's winning. He's beating out everybody else, and they either join him or they have a bad time.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with Dmitry Yuriev, but Albedo, of course, ends up just right with Wilhelm.
So Shion and Allen's attempt to reach Second Miltia is woefully...
Yeah, it doesn't do well. It doesn't go well. But luckily,
misguided.
There's this weird connection that Shion has with KOS-MOS, where whenever she's in trouble, KOS-MOS is like almost quite literally Deus Ex Machina. She can just show up and make sure Shion doesn't die.
She's got a new redesign. She's been refitted or whatever.
They didn't finish a thing, though. I remember the Les Grossman character was like, wait, but she shouldn't be active yet. We haven't yet done something, or we haven't yet replaced the thing that we did change, yet she is operational as she is. That's wild. This shouldn't be happening, right? Yeah. So I don't know that did she ever get the upgrade? Did she ever?
Not at this point. Maybe, I mean... I'm sure there will be some redesigns in Game 3, and maybe they'll have completed it by then. But yeah, like there's some sort of like translucent almost portions of the body where it's got that water motif you were talking about.
Yes,
that, like
with the hair,
spilling hair, and even like in the body too, like underneath the skin
where it's like flowing.
Yeah, there's like a flowing sort of blue energy underneath. Nice. So interesting.
It helps with the water analogy there, which of course I equated in Xenosaga Episode I. I equated that with the turquoise gem at the center of the Zohar.
Yes.
Or whatever that is. That was essentially
the lake in
Africa.
In Africa, yeah. That's like brackish and salty. People have thrived there.
And it looks kind of greenish, yeah.
So anyways, she comes in, saves him. She's a beast. She gets her blue eyes again. The blue eyes that, like, when she gets, like, super powerful weapon mode or whatever.
Blue, not red.
Yep.
And
takes them back.
I'm seeing here in the Carnage Panda.
Generator.
Right? Her generator is not installed. Therefore, she shouldn't be getting any power at all. Yet here she is. So KOS-MOS has a way of getting power from the air, from nothing, from
something other than
collective unconscious,
a power generation, a generator that's installed into her. She's drawing it from something else.
Something else.
So okay, that's good. Thanks, guys, for the clarification on that. Anyway, so the Elsa then shows up from hyperspace. So this had been commissioned by Helmer to send this like covert team in here to do this. Now Shion and Allen and KOS-MOS are going to be rejoined with the rest of the group on that mission.
Right. That's
so they were separated because they're over here at Vector, we're over here at Kukai Foundation and Second Miltia government. So we had to have a way to get them to be reunited for the mission. So Shion and Allen's attempt is not great.
Yeah.
They get stopped. They get reunited with the Elsa. They're heading towards the space-time anomaly, these two black holes, basically. It's like, well, if you fly like just right, Momo says, like right to this point, just right through there, we can get through. But they get stopped by a giant flower-shaped fortress.
Yeah, this was interesting.
The Ormus space station stronghold appears to impede their path.
Well, here's the other interesting thing. And so KOS-MOS has a symbol for herself that's on her, what would you call it? The deprivation chamber that she goes into to sleep.
Oh, like
whatever that thing is, the container.
Yeah.
It's got a flower on it. There's an image of a flower, right? And then KOS-MOS, as she shows up, I do get some flower imagery in maybe the way that she like shoots with her beams or whatever, or that maybe there's an idea that KOS-MOS is like a flower herself that is blooming or yet to bloom, something like that. The symbolism's there. But then when you see this massive ship turn into a flower, I didn't quite know what to make of it. And unfortunately, after this whole thing is said and done, the flower just goes into the black hole and it's basically just gone.
Yeah.
So I still don't know exactly what to make of it. But it was there, and it was there for a reason. And I'm wondering if I'll ever know what reason,
that reason was.
Why it was shaped like a flower.
I don't know if this is at all related, but Ivan did say in a comment on last week's video, you were talking about the symbol on Momo's like little beret hat thing.
Yes, the gold ball with the, yeah.
And he was saying that it reminded him of the floral pattern of a peach tree. If you look at like the way that like a peach flower looks, that it has sort of a similar kind of shape and pattern to it, which would make a lot of sense since she is Momo,
would make a lot
peach,
of sense. Momo the pesh.
The pesh. Right? So he put some photos into the Discord, and I looked at that. I was like, yeah, that could be. I mean, I don't know for sure if that's it, but that seemed fairly reasonable.
That could be it. That could be it. And then, of course, the peach flowers first, which I equated more with Sakura.
Yeah.
But KOS-MOS, I don't know. They're probably going to be flower. There's going to be flower symbolism all over this.
Yes.
Right. I see people in the Discord are also drawing some flower symbolism with Shion herself, with the asker. Was it the asker flower, something like that?
Oh.
So, Joe Pesci.
Jeez. Anyway, this is a long dungeon. It's an exceptionally long dungeon. I do want to touch on that real quick, just because I think there have been enough people have said this at this point.
The gameplay aspects.
Yeah. It's like I went into this having heard or maybe having the assumption that the general complaints about Xenosaga 2 from the fans of the game were that the story suffered in comparison to Xenosaga 1, that the departure of Tetsuya Takahashi as a sort of hands-on writer, and of course Sorya Saga as hands-on writers for this, was clear and evident, and that the story suffered. I still see some people saying that, but I've seen more overwhelmingly people saying that it's not the story that was the problem, it was the gameplay, the battle system, the dungeon design, the tedious nature of it all.
Which once again goes to our point that it was less the concept, the idea, the story, the writing, and more the execution. Like that's all execution stuff. Yeah. And this game just was not executed well.
But I also want to say that I'm not sure that I see how this is much worse than many other JRPGs I've played. I don't know if I'm unique in this, but there's very few games of this style where by the end of the game, I wasn't totally sick of fighting. Like, dude, I have freaking fought 10,000 battles at this point.
Yeah.
I have fought that enemy grouping 500 times. I don't need to fight it again. Like, enough. Like, please stop, right? Now, that can be exacerbated for me in a turn-based game where I don't know when it's going to come up. It just interrupts me
random encounters
in the middle of like trying to get over here.
And the fights just take a while.
And they just take a while.
Take some time, even the smaller ones.
But in this game, that's not the case. You can see the enemies on the screen. I mean, you could still argue, and I would agree, there are too many fights in the game. But again, I think that's a criticism that should be levied at the whole genre. Like, there are too many fights that take too long.
Yeah.
And give you are not enough experience. Like, less fights, make them more meaningful, design them to be more unique, and make them give more experience is the general advice I would give to all people making JRPGs. And, you know, there's definitely not going to be a consensus agreement on my view on that. I think that I would be in a minority there. I think that people like their games being 60 hours long, feeling like they're getting their money's worth.
Yeah,
and I just totally disagree with that. I don't think the time spent battling the same enemy over and over and over again adds to the value of an experience by padding it that way.
Right.
Make each fight as unique and interesting and strategic as possible. That way they can be a little longer, but they're interesting because I haven't fought this particular grouping before, or in this way. It needs to be handled differently. We need to strategize differently. And again, I'm not saying like every single one. I'm saying as much as possible, try to do that.
Yeah.
Reduce the number of fights, increase the amount of experience, make those fights more memorable.
You are describing the strategy games, the tactical RPGs.
Yeah.
That's more or less what they
do. For
do.
the most part, I think that is, and I'm not necessarily a huge TRPG guy myself either.
Right.
I am really, really loving Unicorn Overlord. I think it's probably the best strategy RPG I've ever played.
Oh, wow.
And when I say strategy, I really mean tactical, which means like the JRPG version of tactical games, not like the real-time
RTS,
strategy like Command and Conquer or StarCraft or something like that. Totally different genre.
League of Legends. Or
so when I say strategy RPG, that's what I mean.
Okay.
But it's my favorite one from a gameplay perspective I've ever played. And I think you're right about that. It's like each scenario, each battle is
very
really
unique. Yeah.
They're sort of changing up the terrain and the enemies you're fighting and in what numbers they are, and do they get reinforcements at this point? And so like you're thinking a lot more.
Yeah.
And in RPGs of this kind, like Xenosaga 2, a lot of times you're just mindlessly fighting. Because, again. So, okay, to sum all this up, I don't want to be too verbose about this. I understand the complaint, and I agree with the complaint. I just don't think this problem is unique to Xenosaga 2 somehow.
Okay.
I felt the same way about Xenosaga 1, and I felt the same way about Xenogears.
Me too, actually.
Like,
that's true.
Xenogears battles weren't as long and tedious, but they were certainly as repetitive.
Yeah,
it was like
common.
You just do the same death blows over and over and over again. Very, very occasionally, you'd have a boss or something that it would be better to use this other death blow. It's not the most recent one you did because it has elemental damage attached to it that will do extra damage to this boss. But for the most part, you just repeated what is the latest death blow I unblocked or unlocked. Just do that one. Every single fight.
Right.
So while I loved the concept of Xenogears, like almost fighting game style combos, I loved that idea being worked into a turn-based RPG. The execution, like you're saying, didn't really allow that to be fully realized into something truly fun all the way through. It got way too repetitive. I felt Xenosaga 1's combat was exceptionally slow at times, and there were way too many fights. And the dungeons of freaking Xenogears I thought were really bad at times, like just really confusing. Carbon copy hallways, impossible to know where you are. At least in this game, the designs of the dungeons are actually like pretty excellent. I feel like they're really cool to look at.
Yeah.
So I thought they were great in that respect. But yeah, they're probably too long. There's probably too many fights. It feels like padding. I felt the same way about Final Fantasy 13 and Final Fantasy 7 Remake as for recent games. I feel the same about almost all of these types of games. So I don't feel like this is...
You're done.
Yeah. I really don't feel like this is somehow beyond the pale, particularly for this series. But I agree. It's not like the most fun thing in the world for 2 hours to be going through one dungeon and fighting the same enemies over and over again. And as for the battle mechanics themselves, I understand like stocking, where you take a couple turns almost like building up your strength to like then unleash big attacks. Can in like just as a foundational principle drag fights out a little bit. But I didn't find that to be too much of a problem personally. And again, with games of this type, it really kind of depends on your setup. If you understand the battle system really well,
and
I try to do that. I try to research on game FAQs or whatever. Okay, like how does this battle system work? Let me like really understand it first. And some people don't like to do that. They like to just play blind and figure it out, and that might be a frustrating process. I don't know. All I know is my experience has not been like excruciating to a point that's like way, way worse than what I typically expect from this type of game from this era. It's about in line with what I would expect. So that's my feeling on it. That's my response to that. I know a lot of people have been bringing that up, so I just felt might as well get that out of the way.
Perfect.
Okay.
So
yeah,
after the dungeon.
Yeah, once you get to the end of the dungeon.
The idea is that we're stuck, and I think we're all going to die now. There's no way to get out, right? Isn't that it?
Well, yeah, they crashed the Elsa onto this thing in the first place.
That's right, yeah. So
and
the Elsa needs to be fixed.
They've got to get through there and like self-destruct the thing, and then you get like a timed escape sequence to get back to the Elsa and leave as the whole like station's being dragged into the black hole.
And that's what makes you think, oh, how are they going to get out of this? There's no way they could possibly get out of this. They're goners for sure. And then
the Durandal shows up
the Durandal
with Gaignun.
Gaignun and Mary Shelley.
I guess actually Gaignun's not there. Gaignun sent them there.
Yes, but he sent them, right? So it's, we got orders from Master Gaignun to come, because Junior was saying, I'm glad you're here and all, but who told you to come here? And so that's where the horribly voice acted Mary or Shelley, which one's got that fake Southern accent?
Oh, that's Mary.
Oh, that kills me. Kills me.
Yeah. Southern accents are endearing, but fake ones it's very easy to tell when they're faked.
It is very easy. And this one is horribly exaggerated, awful sounding, really not good. Does remind me a bit of Cindy from FF15 as well.
Yeah.
Just like,
that wasn't
please
as
don't talk.
Bad, but yeah.
Not a huge fan.
But this is where we get that flashback that I was alluding to last week, but we hadn't quite got to yet, with Citrine and Gaignun having their conversation about the Red Dragon.
Yes.
So I want to go through that now.
Yeah, this one's interesting.
Citrine says, you, Gaignun, are just like us. I don't know if I think she's saying the female URTVs. Negrito says, like you. And she says, code name Red Dragon, a useful yet dangerous creature with the potential to lose control. Our duty is to manage and subdue the Red Dragon's violent nature. Don't you think it's strange, the way you don't react to the Udu simulator?
Right.
This is brought up later towards the end of the game.
By Albedo.
Like, don't you think it's weird that Gaignun's not affected by Udu at all? So Gaignun, again, he has become almost the most interesting URTV to me now, because he's the most mysterious.
Well, because he's different. And how is he different? Because we know how Albedo's different. We know how Junior's different.
Yeah.
Now, I thought he was just kind of in line with the others, but no, he's different. He serves a very particular function.
Yep. And apparently that is to subdue Junior. And that's why he was called Executioner by Albedo earlier. He's supposed to kill him. Well, we learn that later. That's actually right here. He was supposed to do that, and he refused to do it, and he killed Dmitry Yuriev instead.
He just shot Dmitry Yuriev.
Yeah.
Because he found out what his purpose was.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
There's a very interesting line that Citrine says. She said, Red Dragon, red and precious, is what she says.
Yep.
Red and precious. Don't know exactly what that means. It does remind me a little bit of Dracula, though. Bram Stoker's Dracula, where he says, blood is far too precious. Like the red blood is far too precious. I wonder if there's a bit of a reference there. But I'm thinking Philosopher's Stone stuff. I'm thinking that he's the real key to all that.
Yeah.
To really, to Dmitry Yuryev's plan that he was made to be. He's so precious. He's made to be this thing. It's just not controllable, which kind of harkens back to Udu just in general. Where it's like, what is it? How do we control it? Because we're humans, so we have to control it. So how do we control it? Well, I don't know, but if we can't control it, then we have to kill it, right? And like those are the two options, right? So we see that now manifest here with Rubido. And the idea that he, like all these URTVs almost seem to have been made for him, right? Like he's the one who is going to execute on these certain things. He's got this shadow sort of second half twin brother part of him that's kind of weird. But then everyone else is like, okay, but you guys, you're supposed to. And do you remember the other URTVs, how they kind of they were kind of making fun of Junior a little bit. Like, you're a monster, man.
Yeah, right.
It's almost as if they had been programmed or told more overtly, like, hey, dude, keep your eye on that red guy. He's different from you, right? Whereas for Gaignun, it was a little less, it was in his programming, but it was a little less obvious.
Yeah. And I mean, at this point, it's been a fact for so long, we almost overlook it. He's got the number 666.
He is 666.
Tattooed onto his freaking hand. So.
Yeah. No. Wait. No. That's Rubido.
Yes, Rubido, I'm saying.
Yes.
Rubido
as the dragon.
Rubido as the dragon
is
number 666. And so Negretto being a setup to like stop an out of control 666 entity.
Book of Revelation, all this stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then this does make me wonder about other red characters I've brought up with Momo. She's got a little bit of red going on there. But once again, also with the Kaiser, he's being followed around by this red-dressed individual, right? And I don't know what's going on with there. But it seems as though everybody's trying to do similar things in different ways. And every different group that makes something, like Mizrahi makes Momo, and then Dmitry Yuriev makes Rubido, and then Wilhelm has his red person. Everyone's got like a red person that they're like, this is the secret. This is the key to everything.
And Udu is red too.
And Udu is red in general as well. Yeah. So they're kind of, I guess, trying to like mimic that and be like, hey, how do we make our people, our fake things to be more like that thing that we discovered in the middle of the
I guess I should say the Udu energy is red, but yeah.
True.
So the Udu itself is like the operating system we learned last time, but the energy that is dispersed from Udu is red. So something to keep note of.
Red and precious.
Red and precious. Okay, so after that scene where Yuriev is killed by Gaignun, the Elsa is ready to head to Old Miltia again. Now that the U-TIC mothership is out of the way and everything, like the path is open for them to go there.
Yep.
They arrive there. Apparently everything is the same as the last time Junior was here. It's all been preserved exactly as it was before. Chaos says something interesting here in reference to Atlantis.
Yeah.
The country of the hills of mud, the land of Mu, was sacrificed, being twice upheaved. It suddenly disappeared in one night. At last the surface gave way and they sank along with their countries. So Miltia, I think, is being likened here to Atlantis.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And it's interesting to think about that. You can think of planets as sort of islands, I guess, out in the universe, and the way that our planet mythology kind of maps onto this new interstellar mythology is like, well, like a land can sink back into the abyss, right? Yeah. It can sink back into the watery chasm from whence it came, something like that.
I just want to address this real quick. We got Carnage Panda bringing up, they skipped Orgula, Space Pope, Cyborg's assassin. I didn't feel like there was anything to note to say of this character. Like, it's just a boss that you fight at the end of the dungeon, right before the time starts.
Yeah.
It's a woman who's like the Pope's assassin. And
she's saying,
character.
You are never going to get out of here.
And I didn't feel there's anything, literally anything of note to say about her. So if you feel there is something that is worth bringing up, please share it. I did not pick up on anything there that played into the themes of the game or anything or in her name or anything worth talking about. She's just a boss character, and you kill her and it's over. That's as far as I could see as far as anything to talk about with her. So that was
I didn't take any notes on that either.
Okay, now saying only thing I bring up is one of her attacks is called Byron's Cane. Okay. What is that a reference to? I'm not sure. You have to Lord Byron's play.
Oh, he did a play about Cain.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what to say about that. So
I don't either. I don't know.
Okay,
so anyway,
cool.
I don't have notes about it, but whatever. It was a boss. It was a boss fight. Okay. I wrote down here that this series, and by this series I don't mean just Xenosaga. I mean like Xeno games in general, have a thing for overbearing drill sergeant commanders who like abuse their freaking subordinates.
It's totally true.
Just like beat the fetch out of them.
Episode 1 was just like ridiculous to watch. Like, oh my gosh, man, you kidding me?
And there's a character like this in Xenoblade Chronicles in Colony 9. It's the drill sergeant. He's like a good drill sergeant, but he's hard on his guys, and he's always punching them and stuff. And like it's played off like it's a joke. I don't know. I guess he finds it very funny. The idea of a commander like literal physical abuse on his subordinates is hilarious to Takahashi for some reason.
He just loves it. Did you know Bob Ross was a drill sergeant?
I did know that. It's really, really weird to know
it
that.
It is. I can't see it. I can't see it.
He served in the military in Alaska, and that's where he got all of his like inspiration for his landscape paintings is from Alaska. So his time in Alaska. Anyway.
Well, here's another thing I want to bring up with Yuriev is that when Gaignun shoots him, well, it's weird to know exactly what happens because it's like, and he holds up his gun. Oh, I'll do anything to not have to do that again. And boom, he pulls the trigger. But then when Gaignun gets taken over and his hair turns blonde because Dmitry Yuriev is like taking over his body, he says something along the lines of, I'm fine thanks to my son, the one who killed me.
Yeah,
and it's all funny. Dramatic. And I'm thinking, what? I'm fine thanks to my son. It's almost a reverse Harry Potter Horcrux thing happening here, where it's like you kill me, and then my soul goes into you. It's like kind of the opposite thing. Don't know how he would have pulled that off. I'm guessing we'll reveal it a little bit later. But
everyone's playing 4D chess in this game.
Yes, everybody is always. Some better than others. But when he dies, he somehow gets his consciousness to be put into Gaignun, and then he can like take over whenever he wants. So this answers a little bit of a mystery about Gaignun. What's happening when he's blanking out? When he's like lost and I don't know what was I just doing? What happened here? Yeah. That's either Dmitry Yuriev attempting to show up,
I think that's it,
or actually showing.
Yeah, I think what it is that for all of this time, for 14 years, it's almost like he's been fighting for control to like. And he finally emerges, and it's been 14 years, and he's like, okay, catch me up.
Yeah.
On like what's been going on.
I love that,
here.
where he's like, hey guys, what's up? And the guy's like, oh, okay, so 14 years, like crazy stuff's happened since then,
Yeah.
Like try to sum up all of Xenosaga 1 in basically 2 minutes.
And I mean, even later when he ends up calling Junior, he's like, I heard about what happened on Miltia or whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
He was not aware of any of this. Yeah. It's literally 14-year blank spot, and he just like finally emerged. Okay, we got it. All right, let's move on. But catch me up, everybody, and what's going on. Yeah. So that's kind of the situation with Yuriev. But crazy scene where he finally takes over his mind.
Yeah, and then the blonde hair just reminds me of all the other URTVs. So I guess they all were designed to look like him.
Basically clones of him.
Yeah.
And these other special ones were.
And maybe that's different. The issue with the female URTVs. They can't. Like he's cloning himself, and they're trying to make that work, and somehow it doesn't work as well with the females. Because he's not female.
You need
so it's like it doesn't work.
You need the X types. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Okay, so they get down to Miltia. There were a couple of pretty interesting scenes here. I wasn't really quite sure what to make of this first one. They're going through an old facility, and they come across a room. It's almost like a spider's web. In these hallways or whatever that were constructed by nanomachines. So it's like all these nanomachines are still working, even though there are no people there.
Because a lot of it looks new.
Yeah. They've been like maintaining the facility and they're sort of building these networks, and it's like Udu's influence over them is sort of like becoming stronger. Because
they're starting to make these interesting designs on the walls that are. They're trying to figure out what it is, but I think it was Junior who says something like, "No, this isn't just the nanobots working. Yeah, there's something else happening here, and it's fascinating.
Yeah,
but it's almost like cave painting stuff.
Yeah, so like Udu is working,
or like a network. It's like a network.
Yeah, Udu's kind of working through them, and then you finally get to this room where Canaan and Jin are finally able to extract the data. This is where we need to make a quick
we do
clarification.
I just assumed it was the Y data because what other data?
It sounded like that's what he was saying.
Exactly.
Apparently, this is not something
bring everyone down.
That this is something that a point of confusion for many fans of this game. It's not worded in the most clear way when Jin's talking about it in the opening scene, but what he gave to Canaan was not the Y data.
Right.
Rather, it was data containing the truth about who is funding U-TIC and all of these dummy organizations who are essentially instigating the Miltian conflict in the first place. So it's more like an unveiling of the true masterminds behind this. Yeah. And what the data shows is that this old Illuminati religion, OMOS, was the one, which we learned about in Pipe.
And what's the name? Hayermeyer or
Heinlein,
something like that. There's someone we don't know yet, I'm guessing. Right?
Yes. Well,
Heinlein.
Yes. We're not supposed to, but yes, we don't know who Heinlein is yet. Okay.
So Heinlein is behind it all because it's like, all right, guys, here's the grand reveal. This is who's behind everything. Heinlein. End cutscene. Switch to a whole different thing.
Who's that?
Wait, what? This starts to happen.
Very xenotypical review.
Very xenotypical. As the game starts to really, progress towards its ending, the references to things that are unexplained and purposefully vague starts to increase, almost at an exponential scale.
Starts to ramp up.
Yep, it starts going up, and this is just the beginning of that. Well, another thing I found quite interesting was that Jin knew all of this already. So because they asked him, they said, "Hey, what are you doing? What's in Canaan?" "Oh, this is the secret to all the riddles." And then he's not even accessing the data. He just starts telling them, "You see, what do you think happened on those days? There's actually been an organization this whole time." And it's like, wait, you knew the data was in your head, Jin. You're the one who didn't tell anybody. I think with what is implanted within Canaan would be something more like proof. Like, here's the evidence. But I already know what's happening.
I think he had already browsed it, gotten the gist of what that data contained. Otherwise, why would he steal it? Like, he knows it's important. And he told that to Chaos and Canaan while they were there. He's like, there's a shadow organization that's like really pulling all the strings here. So he knew what was on it. Right. But he didn't have hard evidence of that. But even still,
I was going to say, what's the point of the evidence now, though?
There's no point, because Helmer went to him and said, "Hey, can you go on this mission to extract this data and send me the data?" He's like, "Well, that data won't hold up in a court. It was stolen."
Oh, so it just doesn't.
Because the data was stolen, it can't be used as incriminating evidence. This is actually real life technicalities in courts. Yeah. So it's proof that can't be used as proof anyways, but Helmer still wants it.
And he just wants to expose it to the media. I haven't really seen much by way of media.
What
Helmer's
purpose with this data is,
right?
Other than maybe just to see it for himself or whatever.
That could be it, just to show it to Helmer.
But Jin already knew what was on there for the most part. He knew the gist of it, and so he was kind of explaining that gist. And then he has Canaan back it up again, and then he sends it on to Helmer. So anyway, there's just basically the reveal of OMOS. I think this is the first time they mention that term in the game.
Okay, that makes sense.
This ancient religion, this Illuminati shadow religion.
This cabal, they've been controlling everything.
That has been controlling everything from behind the scenes. They're the ones funding U-TIC. They're the ones doing all this stuff. Yeah. And they're the ones that are really after the Zohar, and they want to use it to go back to Lost Jerusalem, and that's the Pope is, the Pope of that OMOS.
By the way, I heard via our wonderful comment section that he is actually called the Pope in the Japanese version. Yeah. All so he's like the patriarch in the English one, but in the Japanese version, they do actually call him Pope.
Sweet. I'll keep calling him the Pope then. Okay.
Oh, and here's the other one. This was a very important line here, was their revelation to MOMO that her father, Dr. Mizrahi, was not simply a madman.
Yes.
He was actually being controlled. Or he was
manipulated.
Being used. That's a good way to put it. He was being used by other forces outside of his control that had gotten their fingers into his organization without him even realizing exactly what they were doing. Yeah. And so his last ditch effort was to try to cover it up and actually try to save everybody by keeping this organization like within at arm's distance or something. And that's why he put the white data in MOMO, and then he put his consciousness somewhere, I think, right? Also maybe in MOMO. I can't remember.
I don't know.
That was his episode 1 stuff here for me.
I mean, it's possible. I might be forgetting, but I don't. At least all his research was there.
His research, yeah. So
and
put it all in MOMO, and then
maybe to some degree, a form of his personality is in there. Like I wouldn't count against that.
I could be thinking of a different Xeno game.
I wouldn't count against that being true or possible, but I just don't remember if they mentioned that specifically.
Okay, I could be. It's probably something else.
But yes, he was not the madman that everyone blamed the whole event on him.
Yes,
he just happened to be the hand in front of the flame of the moths trying to get at that fire.
And then boom, it's his fault.
Sealed Miltia away.
Right, that's what he did. He sealed away Miltia, and people were hating on him this whole time. And then Momo has a touching moment where she realizes her dad's not a monster, and that's good. Great for her.
Yeah. Okay, so Jin decides to stay behind, send this data on to Helmer, and Kanan's going to back up. You guys go ahead. You end up encountering Margulis again. And we get another fantastic sword fight.
It's really good.
Between Margulis and Jin.
I loved it. I really loved it. And it was so good. It starts off with this line, too, this great proverb. I didn't look it up. I don't know where it's from or if they made it up for this game. But it's the blade is for carving the heart.
I loved it.
Not for turning against the masses.
Loved it.
Yeah, that's so good.
That was really, really, really cool.
The proper use of a thing. You don't blame the thing. It's not the thing that's bad. It's the way that it's used. And it should often be pointed inward more often than outward.
Yes, point it inward first. Carve your own heart.
And the word, he says carve heart, and I'm thinking, I don't know, this game uses a lot of Bible symbolism. The way the Bible says it is circumcised. To have a circumcised heart, right, would be to, carve out the bad parts around your heart, something like that. Anyways.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's referencing.
I think this is a really great fight scene, like really good fight choreography. Yeah. It kind of rides that line perfectly between sort of like the really flashy, almost absurd
like Jedi
moves,
Star Wars ones.
Yeah. Without going too far into looking dumb. It still looks sweet.
It still keeps it samurai. Cool. Yeah, it looks sweet.
And I really liked it. So I'm a fan of what they did with that. So you defeat him there. He gets in and like runs away on his little mech. And he keeps trying to tell you it's like completely pointless for you guys to be here. You're too late.
Right.
Like we already freaking have what we came for.
Right.
Which we're going to learn in a second is this planet-sized Proto Omega weapon.
Wonderful. Like it looked cool. When it showed up, it looks cool.
It is freaking sweet.
And its wingspan is well beyond.
And this is partly what Junior saw in that little quick vision when they were accessing or like containing Udu. And he was like, what the heck? And he saw that wing sort of like coming up.
I didn't.
It was part of his like vision. Huh. He saw this
wings,
Proto Omega thing.
Talking about wings, we're talking about KOS-MOS.
And you know what that makes me think about actually is they're in the middle of contacting Udu. And Udu showing him that.
Okay.
Almost like a warning. Like, look what they're doing with my energy.
Right.
Junior. Like, don't be a part of this. Again, I feel like there really is
like a benevolent
something there underneath the system. Underneath the system that controls the Zohar and controls this power, whatever it is,
right?
That is trying to like send messages to people, and it looks like apocalyptic destruction, and they're like, "What the heck?" But I think what it's trying to do is show them the truth behind your dad, Dmitry Yuriev. This is what's going on here. Like this is what these people are involved with. Like trying to reach somebody with these sort of abstract, vague images of violence. And is just not able to be on the same or the right wavelength for them to understand what the message is. That's what I really feel like is going on here.
The same wavelength. Very good.
Exactly.
Very good. Very good. Aiden in our Patreon, he says that he brings up the dark wings on Junior's back, which brings me to just a general maybe idea here that this monster hiding beneath the world. There's monsters hiding beneath people. There's monstrous winged creatures hiding inside of planets. And there's somehow that all of these things are sort of microcosms for like, maybe there's like a monster behind the universe itself, which would be kind of the opposite of what you were just saying, but that there's some way in which everything has a shadow, that the collective unconscious and that humans and even planets, and that there's a shadow to be found everywhere.
So I have started to get into Xenosaga 3. Partly because I was so confused by some stuff we're going to talk about later that I just could not like take it anymore. I was like,
I gotta know.
I can't allow you to show me that scene and not explain it. That's bullcrap. Like I have to know why Jin knows Febronia. It makes no sense. So like,
well, glad you're playing the game.
I started doing some research there and learned some things that way, but I'm also into the game a bit now.
Okay.
And I want you to put a pin in this idea of the universe's shadow or dragon or whatever.
Dragon
for later.
Shadow. Well, the collective, if the UMN is the collective unconscious, then the shadow is a huge part of that.
Sure.
And it could be humans that are the shadow.
Let's talk about Cecily and Cathe real quick. So
I do want to give a recap into who they were. Between Febronia and Cecilia and Catherine, these were all early Christian martyrs. Who were killed for, you know, their faith in 2nd century AD, something like that. And it's fascinating what's happening here because, once again, these people are being killed or used in a way that they do not consent. And they are being sacrificed, you could say, towards this twisted purpose. So there's something, their namesake has some type of relevance to what's happening here, that these are martyrs for a good cause against this evil cause that's being, you know, shown in front of us, which is the way that they're being used. Right. And it's the way, as soon as Shion and everyone who approaches it, as soon as they realize what's happening in front of their eyes, they just can't handle it.
Yeah.
And it's that bad.
Yeah. So when you get into this next room where the Zohar is, you see them hooked up. They're in like little beds. Their bodies have been mangled, not decapitated, amputated, cut up, deformed, and have sort of fused with the system.
Right.
And there's no longer any possibility of separate. Their individuality has been lost. Right. There's no saving them, basically.
Now they're Realians.
Yes, they're Realians, and they are the sisters of Febronia.
Yeah,
who is a special Realian. We talked about her a lot more in first episode's podcast. Go back there to learn more about where the name Febronia came from and all that stuff. The reference, the real world reference there. But this was the first time in the game where I started to feel like I was lacking context.
Yeah.
Me too. It was like the game was really trying to deliver some super emotional thing to me. Yeah. And I was going, I'm not sure I get why you feel this way, Shion. I'm not sure that I understand the intensity of your emotion here.
Yeah, the connection. So,
now, I didn't want to just, have that initial feeling, just go, okay, they messed up. That's not how, I was like, surely I must be forgetting something.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, they didn't mess up. I just don't get it.
I surely must be forgetting a scene from Xenosaga Episode 1. It's been over a year since we played it. Let me go back and revisit the cutscenes with Febronia. Let me try to remember everything that they mentioned with her. And I'm watching Shion completely break down, just lose her mind with devastation, sadness, just being totally gut punched by these mangled Realians she's never met before.
Yes.
And going, why is she having this reaction?
Me too.
So strong.
Like, we kill people. Lots of Realians have died. I mean,
she says, don't cry over spilled milk over human beings being massacred by Gnosis on the Glinde. And she's like destroyed over by these two Realian girls she's never met before.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here going like, surely I must be missing something. Well, no.
What?
Like, yes and no.
I just kind of
I now know why, but it's not explained before this moment. That's what I was thinking I had missed. I was like, I'm not connecting with the scene emotionally because I forgot a scene or something. No, that's not the case.
Right.
They just didn't tell you who these girls and who Febronia is to Shion. If you go back to the Encephalon dive near the end of Xenosaga Episode 1, when you first meet Febronia in that little cathedral place.
Yes, I remember that.
She alludes to the fact that she is part of some really horrific past trauma that Shion has had. And Shion has flashes of almost these like zombie creatures like eating Febronia.
Right. Yeah,
some terribly tragic, horrific thing that has happened. There's also the fact that Shion basically wanted to work with Realians in their first, like Vector's first division.
Right.
But she was assigned to, she wanted to be in the third division. I can't remember which is which.
Okay.
Either she's in the third division, she wanted to be in the first, where they work on Realians, or she's in the first, which is the highest, like most elite, wanted to be in the third. I think this is it, where they work on Realians. Someone will probably clarify that for me.
Yeah.
But either way, technicalities aside, she wanted to work with Realians. Right. That's what her real like passion was. So there's that scene earlier on the Woglinde when she's like doing maintenance on the Realians and talking to them. So she loves the Realians more than regular people do. I get that. Realians are important to her.
Right.
However, she, in the moment where Febronia like is there and Shion has her little flash and sees that like eating of her and is like, oh, I don't want to remember, is what she says.
Yeah.
And Nephilim shows up and says, you have to deal with this stuff in your past. It's going to be really painful, but it's so necessary. And by the end of that dive sequence, Nephilim basically concludes, you're just not ready yet.
Oh, like, that's right. That's right. I remember.
And then it's like, okay, they go back out and get KOS-MOS out and go do what they were trying to do in the first place.
Yeah.
However, so all that I can really say as far as context we actually have leading up to the scene is there is a traumatic thing that happened in the past between Shion and Febronia. And so she has a real emotional attachment. We just haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
So it is explained, and it probably will be shown more so in Xenosaga Episode 3.
Okay.
But it just makes it so that this scene I couldn't quite connect to Shion the way I wanted to.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it really is visually quite horrific. Like,
it is
what they've done to those poor kids in those little pods.
Yeah.
But I'm not feeling the devastation Shion's feeling, and I wanted to. I wanted to understand her, why she was so devastated by that. And we just don't have the context yet. That's really just all I can say about that.
Okay.
However, it is still messed up.
Yeah.
And the Pope shows up and is like, you're too late.
Yeah.
As always, pointless.
Nothing you do matters.
Nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And KOS-MOS stands up and she's going to shoot and destroy the pods and destroy the system that is drawing power or that is controlling the Zohar. And Shion tries to stop her from doing that, but then is told by Febronia, no, this is what I meant by free them. I meant kill them.
Yeah.
It's okay. I want you to do that.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I just can't take this anymore. It's so awful.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, fine. KOS-MOS, fire. So KOS-MOS just kills him. But then the Proto Omega like takes in the Zohar and that's when the planet starts getting freaking destroyed.
Yep.
And that was really, really cool visually.
That was wild. The way that the
CGI is amazing.
And the lava. I actually thought about this. There were several shots where I was like, dang, dude, we couldn't have done this level like for the CG that we did.
No, definitely.
Because I was thinking about our stuff and I'm like, man, this was 2004 PS2.
Yeah.
Like pretty good, man.
It's really good. It looks extremely impressive.
Yeah.
Even as old as a FMV as that is.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times you go back to old FMVs from that time and it's like, man, like we thought that was the coolest looking thing of all time, and it's actually really dated. And not this. I mean, this looked legit.
Looked really good.
It looked legit.
But now that you mentioned that this was part of the vision that Junior saw something like this, I wonder if this was a cutscene they spent a lot of time working on.
I'm sure they
maybe
did.
From episode 1.
It shows.
It could have been content that was cut from episode 1.
You know,
and they were like, all right, man.
When we talked last week about how Xenosaga Episode 2 was supposed to be the ending of episode 1, there were trailers for episode 1 back in the day that had scenes from episode 2 in them.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible,
possible
that they had worked on that shot or this particular moment as being like a really key moment. Okay, we got to really make that one look awesome, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's very possible that got a lot more polish because it had some extra years for and was pushed back into another game or something. But it looked freaking awesome. They even have like some almost Star Wars like
very Star
fighters kind of like flying around shooting each other, mechs fighting.
Yeah.
You got the Federation and U-TIC all battling there, and then this thing just emerges and breaks through the shell of this planet and just annihilates everything. It was freaking sweet.
It was sweet. It
Until logistically,
you start thinking about it.
Logistically is insane.
Yes.
I mean, it puts the Death Star to shame as far as like logistics and economic viability.
Right.
But, and from what I learned through the wiki, I don't think this is explained in the game necessarily, this thing was built on Mictum, on Abraxas, the game from Pied, or the world from Pied Piper, which was destroyed by the Gnosis several years before this and was then transported and reassembled in Miltia.
Literally in Miltia, like inside of it. They had to hollow out all of Miltia and then bring this thing in.
How the fetch did you pull that off?
That's wild.
That is just an unfathomable amount of like material needed to be transported across freaking thousands of light years over to this star system and reassembled over here. Like 3 times the mass of the world would have like increased its freaking mass and
that's
probably
true,
gravity.
It's metal.
Like it's insane when you even for a second think about
like
the
logistics.
This
just is not possible.
Not possible at all. But it was
and
freaking
that amount
sweet.
of metal. How many planets would they have had to have just strip mined bare, completely bare, all the metal, and then just to make something like this?
It is awesome anyways.
Yeah, it is. And when it emerges, it is, well, you can't even tell how big the other aspects of it are because the wings are so long, right?
Yeah.
Just these massive wings that unfold way beyond the diameter of the planet. And wings, man, I looked at it and I was thinking, where have we seen this before? And I don't know. But KOS-MOS has some wings, once again, just all the wing stuff. But these are gold wings. And this whole thing is gold, right? It's meant to symbolize like the light of the sun. And it looks like the Zohar and all that stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, it's wild. But I guess the one that he's in is like a smaller one. And then it's controlling like
so there's
one,
like
right?
a smaller mech that actually swallowed the Zohar itself.
Yes.
That's like his personal little mech thing, the Pope, I mean. Which I think, is it connected to the larger structure that emerges, busts out of the planet.
And when he does this too, he thinks that like, I've done it. I've achieved ultimate power. But some people show up to tell it. Basically, Margulis shows up.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, Margulis, the paces are in motion. The board is set. Let us get going and do our plan. And Margulis is like, no, I'm not going to do it. And I'm thinking, because Margulis earlier on had hinted, the Pope has lost his fangs, or the wolf has lost his fangs. He's not as strong as he thinks he is, or as strong as maybe he used to be. But I thought this was a pretty impressive show of strength.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if this happens and the Pope is the one who made this happen, and then Margulis is like, come on, dude, you're weak. Weak sauce, boo. Weak. You can do better. I've seen better. My grandma can do better. And it's like, wait, what? I was actually finally impressed by the Pope.
He has a weapon which can like attack almost anything from like across space and time.
The whole universe almost,
and it's like anything is his target now.
Yeah.
Like and the
Margulis
ultimate weapon. But I'm guessing Margulis is in on the fact that he doesn't have control over it.
He
the
can't
way he
actually
thinks he
control it. Yeah.
Because, as soon as we confront him later and he's about to do his, I'm going to demonstrate my strength. And then it doesn't work. And then it's like the testaments come in and they're like, okay, we're done with you.
Yeah,
You've
your
exceeded
utility
your usefulness.
is past.
I'm guessing Margulis is in on that fact.
That's
somehow.
probably seems to be the case.
That's got to be why he's confident enough.
Just a wild time for that, for Margulis to like grin and to say no is like then with the time of ultimate power. But you're right, that is more or less it. The Pope is not as powerful as he thinks. But I was severely impressed.
Yeah.
This is way more than I thought that old man could pull off. Like miles beyond.
Yeah.
I was not expecting this.
Margulis shows the Inquisitors are no longer loyal to him, to the Pope. And they are, breaking their relationship with them now. But he's going to carry on. And so we got to go there and stop it. So we plan an assault on the Proto Omega, which is another
Proto Omega
long dungeon.
Yes, it is. But Proto Omega, like Proto Omega. So Omega means end or last, right? Like the final.
Yep.
But this is like the Proto Omega. So this would be like the beginning of the end, you could say, is this. Which is funny because Chaos and Nephilim are talking, and she's like, God, this is just the beginning. I said nothing.
Yeah.
But it sure seems like, the Proto Omega, I would say.
Yeah, so like there's the guy who calls up Pellegrini, lets her know everything's proceeding as planned, and Dmitry Yuriev walks in, like shoots that guy.
That's right.
On their live stream. Like when they're talking.
And Pellegrini is there, right? And
she's like, oh, you are still alive? No way. You died. Right. And what he says is, this is Yuriev talking, I've taken control of the parliament. So now Yuriev is in control of the Federation.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like right as the Pope gets the Proto Omega, like the ultimate weapon, and is now like free, he assumes, to go to destroy anyone standing in his way of seeking
to conquer,
lost Jerusalem.
That's right, yeah.
Yuriev emerges and takes over the Federation.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. He's like the one guy who's like maybe a thorn in the side of Wilhelm in all of this, right?
Yeah.
He's now the one running the show at the Federation. A reinforcement fleet is already on its way, so he's sending forces there to Miltia. Yeah. I won't allow you to continue. That's a very confident thing to say to someone who just awakened the Proto Omega. I will not allow you to continue. Right. So Dmitry Yuriev has some stuff up his sleeve. He's certainly exuding some confidence.
He seems to me that he is the less powerful of all the forces at play here, but it's still mysterious as to what exactly he can do.
Yeah, exactly.
But at least one of the, I guess, partial mysteries here is that Gaignun kind of retakes back over his body a little bit.
Yes,
seemingly surprising Yuriev. Like what?
He fights him for
this
control
shouldn't be
again.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe Yuriev he'll come back later for sure.
Yeah, because
but I love that this Gaignun has his own shadow too. Everyone's got a shadow, and it's physically manifest.
Yeah, right.
Just wonderful.
Because this surprises the Pope. Like, holy crap, this dude is like determined to freaking stop me. He's going to fight me even though I have this power now.
Yeah.
Yuriev calls in to Junior and sort of like, hey, son, it's been a long time kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and Junior doesn't seem to recognize that he is Gaignun.
Well, he thought at first Gaignun was calling, so he was expecting Gaignun, and then it was Yuriev that was calling. Like, what the heck? Like, how are you alive? Yeah. Right?
And also, why did you do? And he's bringing up all his 14 years ago trauma, and Yuriev's just like, dude, like I don't freaking care about that. How could you kill
basically
someone?
Explains to him like they've got to go after the Proto Omega, right?
Yeah.
I skipped over this. Before we get to that scene with the call with Yuriev, though, we need to talk about Jin attempting to comfort Shion, who is shattered about having to kill Cecily and Cathe, right?
That's right.
She's just like, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to anyone. I'm all, sulking and depressed. And he describes Shion as another sister to Febronia.
Yes.
Bound by chains of her past. He also explains that Febronia gave Shion such a painful role because Febronia believed in her. He tells her that the world is full of pain and that we can either learn to accept that or withdraw from it.
Or just,
regardless, the choice is hers to make, and he was going to support her either way.
Right.
The scene is good. I like that the siblings are like, putting their differences aside, supporting each other, growing closer. That part of it is great. How in the living F is Jin supposed to know who Fabronia is? That's all I could think of this whole scene. Like, how do you know her?
Right.
She's like this ghostly figure who lives in the higher number domain, who makes contact through the encephalon dive. I mean, obviously, again, there was something that happened that Shion's tried to forget. So again, this is all going to be explained later. But the whole time I was watching the scene, I was confused. I had no context for how Jin knew who Fabronia was, knew that Fabronia had given Shion this assignment to do.
That's interesting.
He was in on it all somehow.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here like, how do you know this, dude? How do you know this? So the whole scene was sort of marred by my just like utter confusion of how he is in on this in the first place. But somehow the two of them knew Fabronia intimately. Like she was almost like a sister to them somehow. Right. So I'm guessing somewhere in their past, when they're growing up, they knew this Fabronia Realian lady. It was a part of their lives, somehow connected to them in a familial fashion.
Sometimes she seems to be sort of dressed like a maid, maybe. Something like that?
Yes.
Maybe?
It does look like that. So you could say maybe she was some sort of servant or maid to their family or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I wish they had at least shown some scene in which, they knew Fabronia. Like I'm talking back to Xenosaga 1, they should have shown this.
Jean was supposed to be more in 1.
That's true.
He ended up not being.
Anyway. But it's a good scene. I like that.
I like the scene.
You get that sense of like a sibling connection. That they're starting to really like connect again.
Yeah.
She leaves, and is looking back at him. But at the end of that scene, he starts talking to Fabronia. Like, am I truly that hopeless? Fabronia, I truly envy you. You were able to do for Shion what her own brother, should have done. Now the question is, what can I possibly do for Shion? Or even still, what can I do about my own past?
That's where I said, remember when we first see him at the beginning of this game, he says that he's got something to atone for, right? Oh, I've got some atoning to do, which means like switching jobs every 6 months for 20 years, and then I still haven't atoned yet. Darn it. I
thought it was hilarious too how when he was fighting Margulis, he's like, I regret that I ran a used bookstore. I shouldn't have done that.
That was great.
I should have been killing Margulis instead. I should have been fighting you. Think so? Like,
yeah. And then Shion brings it up too. Like, haha, your used book thing didn't even last 6 months. And you're already switching jobs now because he's going to start doing something else. But the point is, he doesn't know how to atone. No. He knows I must atone. He's got this intuition of the world that this is how it works and I need to atone. And what? I don't know. How? How do I atone? I don't know what to do. Yeah. It's kind of like the premise to, what's that movie? The rock and roll movie with Keanu Reeves.
Oh,
Bill and Ted.
Yeah, Bill and Ted.
It's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure 2, the second one.
The second one.
Where they're supposed to achieve some great thing and they just don't know how to do it.
Bill and Ted's Bogus
Journey.
That's the one.
Yeah. But he just doesn't know how to atone. So he's gone the last 14 years, just like sort of trying to maybe atone, but also really not even knowing what that means. Yeah. Like, does he even know what he just has this intuition that this is what I must do. Yeah. But he doesn't know how to do it. So.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see Episode 3.
At the end of the game, in the credits sequence, you have him kind of determining, like, I am going to go continue to investigate Ormus. So, like, he sort of has, like, a purpose of being involved again by the end of this, right? He's like, okay, I'm going to go, like, figure out what this organization's all about. And he's going to become an active player again instead of running used bookstores.
And Chaos is going to become an active player too, it seems.
As well, yes.
So we're going to get a real climax here in Episode 3.
I hope
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so now I'm up to the conversation between Yuriev and Junior. Sounds like Albedo made contact with Udu and managed to cause a space-time anomaly alteration. Yeah. That is most regrettable. The bastard, you knew if we confronted Udu, it might be destroyed, blah, 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 blah.
That's right.
And he's just like, oh, please, I don't recall raising you URTVs to be idiots.
Yeah. Well, he said to sacrifice one planet to save a whole star cluster is common sense.
Right.
Right. He's just like, you're stupid. Why would you get mad at me? I'm trying to help.
I liked Shion's response to that. Acceptable losses. Yeah. I hate that term. Right?
She does because she's an idealist.
Yes.
Whereas, what's her name? Yuriev is a hard realist.
Yeah.
And perhaps there's some middle ground between the two.
Now that we are faced with Udu's potential reawakening, we must eradicate any and all uncertainties. We've determined that there will be an attempt to recontact Udu. You must move immediately to eliminate the target, Rubido. So now that the Pope has got the Zohar and the Proto Omega, he is going to try to open the way back to Lost Jerusalem. They think the way to do this is to contact Udu again, awaken its power.
And ask it.
Yep. And based on the disaster 14 years ago, Yuriev is like, yeah, this cannot continue. Right?
Good.
So he's sending or trying to push Rubido to go there and like stop them. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, he's going to do what he can with the Federation to do that as well. So that's why he was calling. But what Junior says to him is interesting because he says recontact. You mean Albedo? Like Albedo's going to try to recontact Udu? Yes, he was infected and he has fallen. And Junior says, I'll atone for my past mistakes. He's speaking specifically about the fact that he's partly responsible for Albedo going crazy in the first place.
Right.
But I will try to do it, or I will not do it by killing Albedo. Instead, I'll make him stop this insanity. Okay, as you wish. I look forward to your results.
Yeah, good luck.
Right? So he's basically setting him up here to like, you got to go kill Albedo.
Yes.
Dude's lost it.
And he's right. Gaignun, or Junior does.
Yuriev, is ultimately correct about
he is right.
what has to happen here.
Unfortunately.
So let's see here. Yeah, then we see Gaignun fighting and gaining control over Yuriev again. Junior, don't trust my words. So Yuriev is still plotting something in sending him to kill Albedo here.
But he didn't say that out loud, though, but he could have, right? Like, it's weird that Yuriev does the thing, and then he ends the transmission, and then Gaignun takes over, and the clothes transform too, which is interesting.
Yeah, his hair
and then he's like, oh, Junior, don't do it. And it's like, wait, can't you telepathically just like talk to him?
Right.
Can't you call back? Like right now, just call back and be like, oh, hey, I'm back.
My assumption is like maybe, I just don't know. It'd be speculation, pure speculation.
Okay.
I don't know how long he's going to be able to like continue to hold on before Yuriev comes back and takes over.
Right.
Is this just a momentary like, oh, I got it back? No, Junior, please don't. And then like,
okay, that's
he gets what do you call it? I
don't know the word.
What's the Matrix?
Oh, I can't remember the word.
What's his name? The character.
Elrond. He gets Elronded.
I keep thinking Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, but that's what he says.
That's not the character's name.
He's Agent Smith.
He gets Agent Smith again.
That's right.
That's what I'm thinking, but I don't know.
Oh, okay, that's possible.
Anyway. All right, so I don't have any notes until you've gone all the way back to face the Pope again, and Albedo shows up to help.
Me too. Me too. But I do want to bring up one other thing that the Pope had said before.
Okay.
The Pope said something along the lines of, the UMN and the Federation have managed to reduce the people to a simple mass of spineless weaklings.
Yeah, that's
remember
right.
that?
I do remember that line. It was good.
And I just have to say that Nietzsche could not have put it better himself. Those are almost exactly Nietzsche's words about modern man.
Yeah.
Modern, and specifically as he refers to what he calls, later on one of his books, the last man, right? Just spineless, weak, pathetic, right? Yeah. And that's how this presumably will to power type Pope, although maybe not totally, because the testaments don't exactly accept him, and they claim in Pied Piper we're looking for will to power people. It seems like the Pope doesn't quite have that.
Nope.
But he's certainly he's internalized Nietzsche in other ways. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. So Albedo shows up and is like, all right, starts kind of fighting, and he's trying to like shoot like beams over at the Proto Omega. It's not working. and he gets hit with some attack from it and just starts like basically disappearing, like just disintegrating almost.
And not at all to his displeasure. He's pretty happy about it.
He seems to embrace the idea of oblivion. He's sort of into it.
He even tells Junior, he says, breathe deep, my particles.
Yeah, I've got it written here.
Once I disperse.
It's pretty hardcore.
Oh, gosh.
That's rich. You're going to destroy me. Complete destruction doesn't sound all that bad.
Right.
But you see, even reducing me to particles won't make me disappear from the cosmos.
That's interesting.
Hey, Albedo, don't forget to breathe deep and inhale the particles that composed me.
And you know what's funny? Junior doesn't even cringe at that.
No.
Like, he doesn't even, he basically acts as
though he didn't hear it. It's not the craziest thing Albedo said.
Whatever, I'll breathe in your particle. It doesn't matter. Freaking, who cares? Yeah, jeez.
So I have a boss fight.
But I really thought Albedo was done for. I thought that was it.
Yep.
I was like, oh, he's dead? What? That was it? That's a bit of a whimper.
He gets revived by the testaments. So after the fight, at the boss fight with the Pope, he says a UMN phase transfer cannon, this weapon he's got here, weapon that can strike any target from anywhere in space. Don't worry, I'll send you to meet him, Albedo, soon. When you reach the afterlife, be sure to tell Helmer too. So I'm guessing he killed Helmer already.
Yeah, seems so. Or he's about to.
Maybe that's what he's insinuating.
They didn't even give Helmer a chance to backstab us.
I know. I'm like, what?
I'm waiting for the Helmer backstab.
Did I miss something again? Like
me too. Once again.
Wait a minute. Did something happen that I'm not aware of? Like, did he kill Helmer, or is he insinuating he's going to?
I'm going to.
I was confused by that. Anyway, so as he's about to use the cannon, it doesn't work at his command.
Yep.
The red robe, blue robe, and
up,
black robed testament dudes descend and claim that the Zohar was not made for his sake. Your act is over. Exit the stage. Right. So this is kind of a motif that Wilhelm uses. This whole like this is all a stage thing. This is all play. And we got like he's like the director.
Yeah. Director.
Of the play, and he's sort of like overseeing who enters and exits stage when. So that's kind of how he's looking at this. So
very interesting.
So they're like, get out of here, Pope. We don't need you anymore. And they revive Albedo, who then contacts Udu, which was the plan, releases its energy. And KOS-MOS sort of steps forward to hold it back. And she's like, I can do this for 3 minutes.
That's right. Exactly 3. Provided one of you breaks through that wall right there. Yeah. Wonderful.
And it's like the Elsa is on its way here. And so there was a pretty good moment there where Ziggy recognized Voyager and launched some missiles at it or at him. Yeah. And he like used a
space-time
anomaly to like warp them behind him, and they hit him instead. And so his body's all messed up. A portal, yeah. And he's like, oh. So like you can't attack these dudes. They're like beyond the laws of the universe. Yeah. They operate on some higher domain level or something like that. So he's all, broken, but he has enough strength to punch through the wall to like the Elsa pulls up. And so they all jump on that and escape before this energy loses containment and sort of takes up this huge area of space. And so the concern here now is something similar to what was speculated on. What would happen with Miltia already. It sort of just like disappeared, right? Yeah. The reason of space was inaccessible anymore. But we also talked about that massive region of space
with nothing
in it, where they suspect maybe Lost Jerusalem is somewhere in that like void of space.
Yeah.
Right. So
because that's where Udu was
something
first
like
contacted.
that is now a concern.
Yes.
This could happen with this loss of containment of this power of Udu that Albedo is in control of, and that's not a great idea. So, so they regroup, and essentially Junior decides he's going to go alone to face Albedo, and like he's being called by him, and this is his job to do, and no one should go with him, kind of thing. Yeah. He has a whole moment with Ziggy and Momo where he sort of talks to them about this.
He tries to sneak off, and Momo catches him, and you're coming back, right? And he's like, well, we shall see.
So I'm trying to see if I have any notes on all of that.
Why does everyone
think I do? What are they saying?
Oh, I see. Okay. Ivan says Wilhelm's doing opera references specifically.
Yes.
The database mentions he's a huge fan of Wagner.
Yes. Yeah, so that's in the database. That's a good thing to bring up. So like a lot of the stuff you got to get in the database. But we talked about the Damarong back in episode 1, where we talked about Wagner's plays and things like that. There was something I forgot to mention though. Now that this has been brought up, this is a totally like not relevant sort of like thing. But I just thought it was interesting anyways. So when we played Pied Piper, I forgot to bring it up in that game.
Okay.
There is a moment towards the very end of the game where I think it's who is now Canaan, who went by a different name at the time, who said something like tears on a window pane, alluding to like that time is fleeting kind of thing. And I was like, that sounds very similar to the speech that Roy Batty is the name of the character from Blade Runner, right? He's, what do they call him? I keep thinking Realian, but that's this game's term for it. But it's the same
synthetic
concept.
Or what do they call them?
No, they're called
the
replicants.
A replicant, that's
they're called replicants. So Roy Batty is a replicant. And he gives a speech at the end of Blade Runner that is phenomenal. It's like the best part of the movie. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Oh, a long time
ago. Really, really good. But like at the end, so
Harrison
Ford's character is like chasing after these replicants. His job is to like kill them or whatever. He's like, he works with the police. And he's like hanging in the rain on the edge of a building, like about to fall over. Like about to fall down and die. And he's like saved at the last minute by this replicant he had been chasing down and like lifted back up and like set back down on the ground because he realizes his timer's up anyways. He's about to die. Right. The replicant's about to die. And he gives this really great speech. It's really, really amazingly acted and delivered. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time like tears in the rain. Time to die. So the tears in the rain thing and the like rain on the window that I saw or that I read in Pied Piper, it's like, that sounds like a Blade Runner reference. Let me remember that speech. I pulled up the speech and saw Tannhauser Gate, and I was like, what's that?
And it's a play.
And that led me to Wagner.
Oh, it's one of his
plays from Wagner.
He wrote like 20 plays, or 20 operas.
So it's funny to see how something like, because people debate, like Blade Runner fans debate all the time, what is Tannhauser Gate? Is that even a thing in this world? Or is it just this offhanded reference to Wagner for some reason? And I'm sure Takahashi would have loved Blade Runner, right?
Sure.
And have been inspired by it,
Absolutely.
and probably looked into that reference and decided, I'm going to throw Wagner references into my sci-fi story too. So it was just a really interesting connection there, because we talked about the Wagner references in there's actually Blade Runner references in Xenogames too.
Oh, okay.
But so he was clearly a fan of Blade Runner, and saw the way that they would use names like that as references to outside things, like real world things. And so he started. I think that might have been where he maybe I can do that too in my own stuff. I just thought it was an interesting connection. I forgot to bring it up in Pied Piper.
He Wagner did the Ring of Nibelungen, which is what the Rhine Maidens and all that come from, right? Gotthard Damarung. But he also did some cool ones like like a King Arthur one that was Parsifal. He did Parsifal, which is the Legend of the Holy Grail.
Right.
Nietzsche saw it and hated it. And I think that's actually like when Nietzsche decided that he hated Wagner, was like after he saw that play. And it was his first open public critique of Wagner, was his critique of that play, basically.
Right.
Because Wagner was a little too idealistic and Nietzsche was hard realism.
We got Ivan here posting a comparison between Roy Batty from Blade Runner and Virgil, who might have been sort of based on his the model might have been based on the character. Like they have a similar facial structure and look to them. So
very interesting.
Anyway, that was not relevant, but it was cool anyways, and I forgot to share it earlier, so I figured I'd do it now.
Cool.
Okay.
Maybe before episode 3, we should watch some operas.
Maybe we should. We're certainly going to do Missing Year in case anyone was
Missing
wondering
Year.
whether we're going to do that. Okay, so we get this great sequence now where Rubido goes to face, like, into the red energy sphere of Udu to face Albedo. And he got some really nice sort of, I don't want to call them cosmic horror necessarily, but in that vein sort of moments where he's like wading through Albedo's insanity to like try to get to him, where there's that scene where he's like tackling and just like beating Sakura to a pulp.
And I was thinking, are these memories or are these just
I think they're just his raw sort of like rage and emotion that he felt towards her. I don't think he actually did that to Sakura, but he wanted to.
Okay.
This is what he really thought of her.
Yeah.
And
because she took Junior away from him.
He was jealous.
Yeah, because the conjoined twins thing is like you're close, you know?
Yeah,
like,
right.
That's like really close. And so you only get separated more from there, right? And remember, they both have each other's hearts in their chests, basically. That Junior always says he has two hearts, right?
Yes.
He's got one, which is also something that Sir Lancelot in the King Arthur stories that the Lady of the Lake tells him he has to have two hearts, one that's hard, one that's soft, right? So when you're fighting, but then when you're nice, you got two different hearts, right? And that's sort of what it's like with Junior. He's got this, this kind heart, but this other one that is just, and it says it's in the right side. So his actual heart is the one on the left. The one on the right side is Albedo's heart, where they were connected. Conjoined, yeah.
So, he's beating up Sakura and Junior's stop.
Yeah.
Now, Junior's intention in going here was to reconcile, convince, persuade.
Maybe apologize.
it's clear that like Albedo just knows how to bring this red dragon out of him and keeps pushing those buttons.
Yeah, and Junior does not know how to
control himself.
Yeah.
He's just not capable of doing what he wants to do. He wanted to go there to do this. He's not emotionally mature enough to do that.
I think there's a reason for that, and it's part of the reason why he still looks like a kid.
Yeah.
He's got this red dragon energy about him that he is afraid of unleashing on the world. And so he has kind of stunted his own development so that he doesn't grow. He's not going through adolescence. He's not going him as an adolescent would destroy the universe, right? So it's like he needs to stay as a child so that this part of him doesn't come out. But at the same time, what you lose there is that he's at level one animus level. Like he hasn't developed, which is what you're also supposed to do in adolescence. Like he's missing the good in denying himself and denying those negative parts of him from ever emerging. He's also kept these good parts or these ways of dealing with it and growing and maturing. He's kept those down as well. So he's like a 10-year-old kid. He has no way of actually controlling his rage when it hits. Like I kind of see this in my kid. He's 5 now.
Yeah.
And when he's upset, he just isn't thinking. He's just not thinking properly, and he'll do things he shouldn't do. And it's you can discipline him all you want. He's still going to do it. So that's not the problem. The problem isn't that. The problem is he kind of just gets lost in his emotions. Yeah. And Gaignun Jr., I keep calling him that because I think that's what I thought his name was.
No. Actually, he says it in this game. I go by Gaignun Jr. now. Okay. He actually said that to Canaan earlier.
That's right, because they wanted to call him
They clarified that
a different name.
Finally.
Gosh. Okay, so Gaignun Jr. is, I think I did hear that, and that's why I've been thinking of it. Whatever. I think I made the point. He's incapable of dealing with this. And so Albedo pushes the buttons just like an older brother would.
Right.
And he just is helpless because he has not developed yet as a mature adult.
Yeah. So there's a couple good scenes there. I didn't take a lot of notes other than this is well executed. The voice acting is all very good here. We're now in the realm where like we get all the good voice actors kind of like taking the center stage.
It's better. It's a lot better. Yeah.
Like you're getting more of Albedo
and less of Canaan.
less of Canaan and Chaos. I guess you get more Chaos in the end, but you're getting less of them too, and Jin, and you're getting more of like Margulis, the Pope.
Yeah. Albedo.
Yeah. Who's even Dmitry Yuriev's actor is quite good.
Yeah.
You're getting more of these characters. And so like the voice acting is feeling a lot better in these scenes where these characters are interacting. The drama's working better. So A lot of that's
also my level
strong.
of confusion is also steadily rising.
That's
and
true.
I forgot this is how episode 1 ended too. They just throw all the names and words at you so that you can just still be curious, so that you'll play the next one, right? And they're starting to do that here in episode 2. Like, ooh, but wait, once you finish the game, don't you? Wait, there's more. Have you heard of Abel's Arc? Huh? What do you think that could be? Anyways, game's over. It's like, no, please tell me. Abel's Arc, what could that be?
Yeah. But I did notice the UMN rabbit character was in the room in Sakura's bedroom.
I remember that.
As he's beating him.
Yes, I remember that.
So I took note of that. I was like, that thing's there for a reason. They didn't just throw that
bunny.
randomly in there.
Episode 1 had a lot more of the bunny, by the way. We don't get as much of the bunny episode 2. I never trusted it to begin with. To let the record show, I never trusted that thing.
I can't remember now. It's possible that was actually in Sakura's room earlier in the game too, because it's a representation of the UMN. It's the actual mascot of the UMN.
Yeah.
And, they're using like these dive sequences. They're using the UMN to like contact her. But anyway, I just took note of the fact that it was there. But I also laughed out loud when he says, Rubido says like, oh no, Red Dragon mode.
That's right. That's right. I was like, is he calling it or is he like lamenting it? Like, what's going on here? And the fact that he calls it, Dragon modo. It's just like, okay, yes. But, and then he's lamenting it. He's like, oh no, could it be? No, Dragon mode. Oh, it sounds a little bit Dragon Ball Z like.
It does. It very much feels
not Red Dragon mode.
Way over the top anime thing, right? It's in the middle of this because there's some pretty effective scenes happening here. There's obviously the scene with Sakura we just talked about, but there's also they go into more detail of Albedo when he was like digging near that tree.
Oh yeah.
They reveal here he was practicing digging graves for
so that
Negretto and
to bury his friends
and Rubedo. He's like, so that I'm practicing so that when I have to do it for real, I won't cry.
Right.
Like, just like, whoa, dude, that's fetching dark.
That was quite touching. And then the scene, and then of course Albedo's current self kind of takes over the scene and, drives it in his own direction. But that was pretty sad. And to think of it, what would a kid like him do at that young maturity level when he finds out that he's immortal and his friends are not,
Yeah. Yeah, it's all good stuff, and I really like the visuals of it all. Again, I feel like they've done a really good job in this game in a lot of things. But yeah, I laughed when Ruby was like, "Oh, not the dragon mode, no."
Could it be?
There's some good dialogue between when you get to the real like adult Albedo.
Oh, and I guess we didn't. Did we bring up why Albedo's back all of a sudden?
Yeah, he was revived by the Testaments.
Because he just is. Okay.
He was revived by the Testaments to contact Udu. For the purpose of contacting Udu and releasing the energy.
I sort of mostly got it. I mostly got that. But I was like, oh, of course he's back. Okay.
Because remember,
but then we really kill him, right?
That's what
But then we really don't kill him.
Dmitry Yuriev sent Rubido there because it's like, Albedo's going to go contact Udu and release the energy.
Yeah, you
must
that. Stop him.
So they got there, and the Pope killed him.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, Albedo's not going to contact Udu. But then the Testaments come in and are like, yes, you are. Revive him. Do it. So then he's connected to it. Like this design for this final boss is really interesting. Like
that was wild. He's like part of the whole room.
He's like connected, not totally dissimilarly to how Cathe and Cecily were.
Oh yeah,
they had all those like tubes plugged into them inside the pod, and he's like sitting on that chair, and it's like he doesn't have legs almost, and he's just like connected via wires. And what he says about that,
well, he was like happy about it. He's like, yeah, this
is let's see, am I to repent? Am I? I think not. As my duty as an immortal, I've prepared a brand new worldview for mankind. He might have said it before this. Hold on. Nope. I think this is all I took down. Okay, he must say it somewhere in here. Or new worldview for mankind. When I temporarily linked with Udu, I climbed the ladder of evolution and saw the leaning tower of culture that humans have struggled to construct.
This is straight beyond good and evil, what he's talking about right here.
Yes. It's not even a tower, really. It's a scaffold of rotting wood built with meager knowledge and pitiful tools. But a nice guy would tell them the truth, would he not? Hello, you've got it all wrong. And so, again, Rubido's just trying to, like, desperately reach him. What are you going to do with this regional space? Who knows? Perhaps I'll cause a shift and shove this whole dimension into a high-order domain. Don't be afraid. We low-dimension creatures will move en masse to a higher plane. It'll be glorious. The true eternal chain. He brought that term up earlier, too, when he was first contacted Udu and, like, the dragon was coming out. It's like, this is it, the eternal chain.
That's right.
Which was, we talked about in the first game. I'm not going to go over that right now. So the true eternal chain.
Yeah.
The fulfillment of that which we lacked, the evolution of mankind and the evolution of the very world itself that watches over us. Happy days are here. They'll name a holiday after me. That is, assuming they even have the concept of holidays on the other side.
Well, that would be a holy day. That's what holiday means.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So. If you don't stop, I'll have to stop you. It's like, come, my positron. You are an anti-Udu weapon. My heart tingles with anticipation. A weapon need not feel shame for desiring combat.
Right.
For all we know, humans themselves may be weapons created by the world.
Right.
Oblivion, okay, so that's where you fight him. They have some more conversation about the fact that, like, you are a weapon, you're designed to want to freaking fight me. Like, just give into it. It's like, you're right, I do want to kill you so bad.
Yeah,
I want to tear you apart. I want to tear you apart. I hate you so much. And they,
all right, let's go.
Fight.
Yeah.
So, you do actually kill Albedo here.
Yes.
Or I should say Rubido does. Oblivion, huh? You might say this is a release. At least I won't have to fear losing anyone anymore. That was at the whole base of his insanity, was just feeling afraid of being alone. Yeah. Well, I would rather die than be here
alone,
you know, centillion years from now by myself. Rubido, beware of Negretto's shadow.
Yes.
He says, as he's being, like, lifted by the
angels, a bunch of the Series 100.
Yeah, those Realian
we
girls.
call them Kirschwassers.
His term for them,
They show up and, like, 5 of them, like, bear him up, almost like a Michelangelo painting, just like, ooh, and it's just this heavenly ascent that he goes to the afterlife.
Yeah, so beware of Negretto's shadow. Think why it is he doesn't react to Udu. Yeah. Albedo, don't leave me alone. Now the roles are reversed.
Yep.
Now don't leave me alone.
Don't leave me.
Now, this is something I really wanted to reach out to any of our viewers who have a twin sibling.
Ooh, okay.
And let me know what you felt about this scene.
Yeah.
The idea of your twin brother or sister being taken away and you feeling like you're left alone. I feel like that's something I just can't. Not possible for me to understand what that would feel like.
Right, at that level. Like, that would be, like, that's as close as people can get.
Like, surely I can imagine what losing my brother would be like, but I can't imagine what losing my twin brother would be like.
Yeah.
And so if there's anybody out there who has a twin sibling who wants to sort of describe what a scene like this, like what kind of emotions it draws from you, I'd be really interested in hearing that.
Yeah.
Because I really feel like there's another layer here to Rubido's, like, pleading, like, don't leave me alone.
Yep.
His realization, oh wait, I'm losing a part of myself. I'm losing someone who was connected, literally connected to me. I can't feel that heartbeat in my right side anymore.
Yeah. And this is where he's surrounded by darkness. He's just he's in the pit of despair.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis had a brilliant way of talking about something like this. He says that when somebody dies, it feels like a part of you dies as well, because there is a part of you that only that person can bring out, right? Like, there's a part of me that only you can make exist, and that when you are no longer around, I don't have it anymore, right? Like, nobody else can quite do it. And this is true for almost all of our friends or close social interactions, that we aren't always exactly the same. We don't always behave the exact same around everyone we meet. We kind of tailor, and, you know, different people can bring different things out of us. And when somebody close to you dies, it is a loss. A part of you does go with them as well.
Right. And I mean, that's true just of, say,
anybody,
a spouse.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's truly another level to that for those few who have had the opportunity to go through this life with a twin.
Bonus points if it is if you were conjoined twins.
Literally conjoined.
I used to be. I had some friends back in middle school who were conjoined twins.
I remember them. I remember.
Do you remember?
I do remember.
Yeah, one of them played bass and the other one played football. And
I remember that. Yes.
And they were conjoined at the chest. And to this day, one of the brothers has a bump on his chest, and the other one has like a dent, like an indent in his chest.
Yes.
And they were identical. And that, I think you'd have to be identical to be conjoined. I think. I don't know.
I think that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, that would just be wild.
Yeah. I feel like there's truly just another level of connectedness to a person that is impossible to understand for the vast majority of us who have not had that experience of having a twin. And it's something that really intrigued me about this scene, and I just felt like I wanted to reach out and see if anyone could give some further sort of context on how that scene felt to you.
Yeah.
Right? Like what that would feel like to you. I'm sure it would be devastating, right? But I thought it was really well acted and really well, because Albedo's ascending, and he's like, "Look, Rubito, I'm free." And he's like, finally, like unshackled from this totally insane mind that he had been.
Yes, that's right.
bound to.
That was just getting worse with time.
Yeah, it was just like finally, it was friggin' over.
Yeah,
and I mean, he alluded to that numerous times. Like Oblivion doesn't sound that bad in comparison to the suffering I go through here all the time. Yeah. This mind I'm trapped in, this freaking thing that just isolates everyone from me more and more as time goes on.
Yeah.
And like makes me more and more enraged.
Which is wild because his deepest fear is to be alone. Yet he is the biggest driver of loneliness in his own life. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But I loved how Junior reacts to this. Like it felt very good. It felt very real. Yeah. And I loved that he was so torn up immediately after it happened.
Yeah.
He regretted it.
Yeah, almost the whole concept. You don't really know what you got until you've lost it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And again, immature mind, still thinking, acting, behaving like a child, buying into this rage that was fed to him by Albedo. Yes, I want to tear you apart. I hate you. Blah blah blah. Yeah. And then like, no, actually, I don't. No, that was a mistake. Oh crap! No, it's the moment's on me. Yep. Oh no, it's I don't go. Right? Like I thought that was very well played.
I had a dream once. I have to tell everyone this one. My wife has heard this dream. In case anyone's wondering, I had a dream where I don't know why, but I poisoned my wife. I don't know why. It didn't make sense. In fact, I don't even remember poisoning her. I just remember we just sat down at like breakfast or whatever. And I was like, as soon as she takes one bite of that food, then she's poisoned. And I just knew that her food was poisoned. And she takes a bite, and I was like, it was like I was trapped. And I was just like, as soon as it happened, I was just like, this horrible feeling of like, oh no, like how much time do we have? Like what's going to happen now? Like it's over. Everything's going to end. And I woke up. Have you ever had a dream where you wake up and it feels real? You
still feel the emotion.
I felt it for hours afterwards. Like my heart, I was just like, you're still here, right? Like, oh my gosh, I had this ridiculous nightmare. But I'm sure Jungian and Freudian analysis, whatever. Have at it, people. But like the feeling that I had of the immediate regret as soon as because I don't even know, because you're just thrown into the middle of a dream situation. Like I don't know what happened up to that point.
Yeah.
But as soon as it happened, I had this like horrific feeling that is difficult to even describe. Yeah. And it just happened to be the dream that I woke up on and really was able to feel that in the real, so to speak. Yeah. And it was just like it was crazy. But that's one thing that I can think of here. Then who is it? The people show up to kind of start to comfort him a little bit.
So
it's not who he thinks.
This was crazy.
It was Sakura.
This like just kicked into overdrive my frustration about chaos,
which
has been building and building.
The whole ending
Sakura is talking to him, comforting him. Sakura is the one talking, and then he falls into Sakura's arms, and it's chaos.
Yeah.
It made me wonder, is Chaos playing as Sakura to Junior?
Yeah.
But now later on, Junior recognizes Chaos rescued me.
Yeah, he knew that it was Chaos.
But the fact that he was literally standing in the place of Sakura made me wonder, was Chaos there all along as the Sakura character, like encouraging him through all of this?
Right.
Was that Chaos playing as Sakura to be able to like present himself in a way that like Junior would buy and like, be comforted by? Or was that literally just Chaos walked in at the same moment that he was falling into Sakura's arms?
Interesting.
I tend to want to believe Chaos was playing as Sakura through this whole sequence and like getting involved in, because that's the only thing that makes sense to me, given the way he responded to seeing them when he rescued them 14 years ago. He calls them the horsemen of the apocalypse.
Yeah.
He talks about how much of a shame it is that they have to suffer the way they do. And at least now they'll get some time to rest. He says the same thing to Nephilim here.
Again. Yep,
even though it's going to be a short time, at least now he gets to rest. He's got this compassion for these URTVs.
Yeah.
And so it would make sense to me that in order to help him get through this horrible freaking moment where he's going to lose his twin brother, that he appears to him as Sakura to like help him get through that.
Interesting.
Now, my question is whether Junior knows that part or if it's just like, oh, I found myself in Chaos's arms and he saved me.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
I'm not sure what I'm literally meant to take from that.
Yeah.
But it was really, really cool. And it was one of those moments where, few moments, I would say, in playing games or watching media these days, where I'm like literally like mouth agape when like Chaos catches him. I'm like, oh, fetching again. Like, they did it again. This Chaos thing is driving me crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Who is this guy? Well, I guess we know his name now because Wilhelm pops up and calls him Yeshua.
Yeshua.
And I had the same thought as you did because we talked about this on the way here. I was like, are they going to make him Jesus Christ?
Yeah.
Are they going to make Chaos Jesus Christ? Because I'm going to be pissed if that's the truth. So I looked into that too, and I won't give the answer to that yet. But
ooh, wait, people, wait. Just
I was
wait.
like, man, if you built this up the whole way just to make him Jesus Christ, I'm going to be kind of upset. That's kind of stupid if that's true. That's how I felt. That was my initial feeling.
Yeah.
But that's all going to be revealed in episode 3. So.
Yep. Everything shall be revealed. I don't even know what that's from.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I do know. Thumb Wars. Okay.
But you were saying about the name Yeshua on the way here. I think you should bring that up.
Yeshua, there is a slight difference in the spelling. And of course, Hebrew does not have alphabet. They have an alphabet. They don't have vowels. There is a way to do accent markers and make sure that vowels are properly conveyed. But this particular language, like Hebrew, the way that it's typically written is just the consonants. And Joshua is... So Yeshua is the name of Joshua in the Old Testament. So the book of Joshua that comes after Deuteronomy, right? Then Joshua. That is following Joshua, whose name is Yeshua in the Old Hebrew. But Jesus' name was also Joshua. Well, it was Yeshua. But his name was Yehoshua. There was an H syllable put in there as well, or an H consonant, I guess.
Right.
So even though the meaning is the same between Yeshua and Yehoshua, it is, Jesus technically had a slightly different variation on the Hebrew name. He's Yehoshua. So if we're to draw any parallel between a Yeshua in the Bible, it wouldn't be with Jesus. It would actually be with Joshua, who is the one who led the 12 tribes of Israel after the 40 years in the wilderness into the land of Israel.
Yeah.
It was Joshua, not Moses, who actually succeeded in getting them to the land of Canaan.
Moses smacked the rock and God got pissed.
God was like, you screwed up now. You done screwed up, boy.
That freaking demiurge Jehovah of the Old Testament. Hardcore, dude.
He is.
He was supposed to touch the rock.
There's probably some missing context. Well, he was also supposed to do what God told him and not try to do it himself and make the water come out without God telling him. I'm just
being silly.
Okay, so here's the fun part. If Chaos is Jesus, that's just fascinating for other reasons, and we'll see. I've never seen a good Jesus depiction in media ever, so we'll see. But if he's Joshua in the Old Testament, then he can be the one who is leading the 12 tribes to the promised land from the desert.
Jerusalem.
So it's more interesting if he's Joshua, not you.
That would be far, far more interesting
more interesting
than if they literally made him Jesus Christ. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I was not excited of that possibility when that occurred to me. I was like, please don't do that.
Please don't do
that.
I had the exact same thought too. Let's see. So
they get him out. They're back on board the Durandal again. And KOS actually goes out and like stands on the outside of the ship. He's like standing like out on the like freaking on the side of the ship, like talking telepathically to Wilhelm. And Wilhelm's like, ooh, you're going to be an active player again. I'm so delighted by that.
Yes.
He's like, you're damn right I am. Like,
I'm not just going to watch anymore.
I'm not holding back anymore. I'm getting involved. So they kind of leave you with that, you know, the idea here being KOS and Wilhelm are opposed. Though Wilhelm seems to be, again, feeling so confident that he's in control of this play, that this is like part of his plan the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool. I can rely on you being involved again. Good.
Exit stage patriarch, enter stage chaos. Totally fine. It's all written. It is written. Behold.
It is written. So they kind of.
He's got his little testament people with him.
So I'm
white
guessing,
testament appears.
Yeah. So there's a couple scenes in the credits. One of them being Jin and Shion talking to each other, and Jin's like, I'm going to go investigate Ormus some more.
Yeah, I like that one. Junior gets a dog.
I loved,
an albino.
I don't know why this dog had eyebrows. It looked really freaking weird.
If it's a true albino, it would not have eyebrows.
It looked freaking weird.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
But yeah, he names it Albi, I think is the name he chooses, which was, sweet. It was nice.
Yep.
But and I loved the scene with Joachim Mizrahi and MOMO. Momo's going to go live with her now for a bit.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And she was like, "Hey, have you considered my?" I guess I forgot the
scene.
We
didn't bring it up
earlier in the game. She had sort of requested or pleaded with him to consider life extension.
Yeah,
I know that like for your remaining biological parts, you have over and over again voiced you're not interested in life extension. You want to die.
And at 130 years is like the max. And he's basically
he's right
up
there.
Against that.
And she's like, will you please, for Momo's sake, consider life extension? He's like,
this is what... Okay, we talked a little bit about the whole immortality question last episode. And part of my thing was, but there will always be that one thing that gets me to decide to live just a little bit longer. And this, for Ziggy,
that's exactly
this was
the kind of thing.
It's like, but just a little bit? Okay, I'll do it for Momo. Okay.
Relationships. And that's really like the thing that makes life worth living.
It's kind of the only point. I had this exact same thought.
And so like, if there's anything in the world that's worth living for, it's your family, it's your friends, it's the people that you are close to, people you're connected to.
The relationships, the unseen relationships in between people. That's what it matters the most. And I got this especially from Junior all the way through the end, all the way that they wrap up this episode. It's just focusing on everyone's relationships, but whether it's Jin and Shion or whoever it is, it's everybody. And we are just seeing, and I had that exact thought at the very end of the game, thinking, wow, now like this is what actually matters, right? They're showing us now the actual purpose, the actual, goodness of life. And it is to be found in relationships.
Yeah. And, that feeling of connectedness. I feel like that is almost like the pinnacle of like what makes life so valuable is that connectedness with others, that being able to share of yourself, share with others, they share with you, that sort of like those intimate parts of yourself. That's really, I don't know. I can't think of anything else that to me, you'd call that maybe under the umbrella of just love, right?
Sure.
But that's kind of what love is. It's the sharing of yourself, the trust, and the receiving from the other person, and that drawing you closer together. You don't feel isolated and alone. You feel like you are connected to another being. And isolation is like literally the worst thing a person can experience in life. We've talked in the past about like punishment in prisons where they put them into the
solitary
confinement and how that's almost the worst punishment that exists.
Right. Yeah.
For people, it's just horrible. They've done studies on people who isolate themselves for just a few days and start
going crazy,
losing their minds. Right. So
no one understands this whole point you're making. Better than Albedo.
Yes.
The reason he's so evil and crazy and ridiculous is because he understands that better than anyone. And he knows that that's his future.
Right.
And he cannot bear it.
And so what Ziggy had been trying to do ever since the event of Pied Piper is isolate, disconnect.
Yeah. Just wait, when's the 130 years up? When's it over?
Yeah. And now he's got a connection with this Realian girl, Momo, a real one. And that is strong enough to get him to agree to seek life extension, which I thought was a really nice moment there at the end. Yeah. That was really, really sweet and beautiful.
Me too.
I'm saying all of this as a teaser for what I'm going to be bringing to part of the conversation we're going to have with Keith next time that I talked about last week. And there's a lot more I want to elaborate on that, but I'm going to save that for next time. But that is really, I think when you truly boil it down, the difference between a fulfilled life, a happy life, a life you would like to see go on and be extended as long as possible, and one in which you want to see it end. We saw that with Albedo. Oblivion was inviting. Oh, that doesn't seem so bad because he is totally isolated.
Yeah.
He has no human connection to anybody at all. Ziggy was almost seeking for that because the pain was so bad. I just want it to end. I don't want to, but he can't help it. He has this connection with this little girl. And it's like, that's worth living some more years for. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that he's going to go back and he's still technically property.
Yes.
And it will be assigned to missions. But
he's
there's
on
a special
call,
case where he's on call for Momo.
Yeah.
And Junior had been the one to like call that in and make that like part of the stipulation. So that was kind of a cool moment.
He's a retainer, like kind of how you retain a lawyer just in case. And he's on retainer for Momo.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
So that was really great. And then we get to the post-credits scene, which is with Wilhelm and the Testaments. And again, kind of like you're saying, I feel like a lot of this dialogue, you're not even really meant to understand what they're talking about. It's just like, here's some more mysterious terms that you'll have to come back later to figure it out.
But they are quite inviting. They are.
Yeah. But there's a couple things from it that I felt like were important to pull.
Okay.
So he reveals that the path to lost Jerusalem, Wilhelm, I should say, when that opens, that KOS-MOS will awaken, like the true KOS-MOS, the real reason this KOS-MOS being exists.
That line got me thinking. That one line right there.
Will the real KOS-MOS please stay?
Yes, exactly. So the current one is just imitating, right? But apparently, so this all just makes me think of Kevin.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Well, and this has been a critique of mine since episode 1. What are these like 20-somethings doing, creating this like God Emperor of the universe in a little robot that they have created? Basically, Kevin like made it on his own. He like made it himself, and Shion like helped, and Allen was there, I guess. And they like part of me is like, well, this is just anime. This is just like, hey, these 15-year-old high school kids like just make a nuclear bomb that can destroy the world, and that's just how it is. And then another 15-year-old has to stop them to help save the world, and that's just how these stories go, right? Like a 28 is an old man in Japanese media.
Yeah.
Well, in the cartoon,
in the
video games and anime, yeah. So part of me sees that, but another part of me is like, dude, we know so little about Kevin. There's got to be like if Wilhelm, the puppet master, is like KOS-MOS is about to awaken, what was Kevin doing this whole time? I have questions about Kevin.
So Kevin died when KOS-MOS,
I am aware of this,
prototype freaked out.
And then Shion,
I'm seeing you putting it together,
prototype.
So I'm just kind of like.
There's one thing that I'm curious about, and I'm not going to bring it up because I think I'm right about this. I'm not going to bring it up, but we'll talk afterwards.
Okay.
But it's a toss up between whoever the heck Shion's parents are, because there's something weird going on there too.
Yeah.
And then there's something with Kevin that I don't quite understand, and especially everything that we've heard from him and about him up to this point. And then here, this little tinkering thing that he made that Shion's like, oh, I'm finishing his legacy. And then Wilhelm is like, yes, this is all part of my plan to dominate the entire universe. There's just more going on than we're privy to.
Yes.
And I am starting to really see that. And it was that line right there that really kind of just kind of put things in my mind a little bit to start wondering about the past and what's been set up for however long.
Yeah, we do know Wilhelm is the CEO of Vector.
That's right. Yeah.
So he would have been commissioning KOS-MOS to have been created in the first place, and kind of overseen all that.
Okay, how does he select people? It's just
the will to power. Both, and then he also says that the Y data was apparently incomplete. So
that's right. There was still something missing.
Yeah, he was like, both
though?
he, and by he means Albedo, I'm assuming, and the U-TIC organization have completely poured through the Realians main database, but only as far as the subconscious level. So there's more to the Y data they haven't unlocked yet.
And
below even that, are you saying the answer lies in the unus mundus?
Because Carl Jung, conscious, unconscious, collective unconscious. That's what's below even that, right? And that permeates everything.
So Wilhelm asked that question. Below even that, are you saying the answer lies in the unus mundus? The Red Testament says most likely. Wilhelm says, really? Well, I suppose we'll have to leave it at that for now, for the time being,
for the game,
for this game, and that
he's a director. What
that concludes episode 2. Now, there's probably some stuff we can still discuss. We talked about how are we working in this not will to power, beyond good and evil theme into this. I think there's a lot of it in Albedo there at the end. I think we can discuss all of this. Many other comments that have been submitted that I'd like to touch on, as well as the conversations with our panel guests for next time.
That'll be fun.
So that's what you can look forward to for next time, is we're going to kind of do a final wrap-up episode, but we're not going to be covering like part of the story. We finished the game, obviously, but just sort of kind of wrapping up thoughts on Xenosaga Episode 2.
Yeah.
The week after that, we'll go into Missing Year.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
And then jumping into Episode 3 and finishing up Xenosaga. So look forward to that. Appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate your contributions to the discussion. And we will see you again next week. Peace out.